Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today I'm doing an out of theater review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. You guys know that I generally avoid like buzz and other people's reviews and opinions before going into a movie. I prefer to go in blind so I can completely make up my own mind and have my own opinion. But the one thing that I kept hearing about Mutant Mayhem was it's like just comparisons to Across the Spider-Verse and that animation style and how much the animation for this movie was influenced by Across the Spider-Verse. That's true. That is definitely true, and that's definitely one thing that stood out to me. But it still manages to look unique enough, and I dug it. I enjoyed the animation in this movie. I actually saw this in 3D, so I guess I'm not an art an art expert. I guess the aesthetic really like popped out, and this is actually one of the rare films worth seeing in 3D. So that was cool. But as for the movie itself, yeah, I ended up enjoying it. I don't know. I honestly had like no expectations going into this just because I'm not a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy. It was like one of those things that was more or less kind of around. Of course, it's been around for every generation since the 80s, but it was just more kind of like around for me. I never like really seriously got into it like a lot of you out there. I was more of, for my money, I was more of a Justice League, Teen Titans, like more Marvel, DC superheroes kind of kid growing up. So the Mutant Turtles were never really 100% on my radar. So I wasn't hoping for this to be like a masterpiece and like I don't know, like bring my childhood wishes true, nor was I looking to just like hate this movie because it wasn't similar to Mutant Turtles cartoon that I had nostalgia for. I was very ambivalent going into this, but it genuinely surprised me with just how enjoyable and fun it is. Now, in those comparisons to Across the Spider-Verse, I will say that the main thing here is that it's this. This is this is a movie that Seth Rogen produced and helped. He's also one of the writers on it, so it's not as edgy as Across the Spider-Verse. It's not as intense as that movie gets. This is very much more, leans more on juvenile humor and kind of a lighthearted vibe, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if done right. And this movie does it right. But what I'm trying to say here is that whereas Across the Spider-Verse is just so happens to be a movie that's animated, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is definitely first and foremost a kids movie. There's not a lot of deep themes or deep character arcs as there is in Across the Spider-Verse. This is first and foremost a movie for kids, and again, if done right, that is not at all a bad thing nor an offensive thing, and this movie knows its audience and it pulls it off. And although I'm not the target demographic, I myself still had a really good time enjoying it. Has a little heartfelt message about wanting to be accepted and wanting to make friends. It has some nice action, really nice soundtrack. Someone's definitely nostalgic for the 80s and the 90s. In the 90s, a lot of 80s and 90s references in this movie. That's kind of the trend in cinema right now. A lot of like 80s and 90s nostalgia, and this movie is no exception. A couple of awesome hip-hop 90s hip-hop songs in this 80s 90s hip-hop. So yeah, this was thoroughly enjoyable. Again, I really liked the animation. Oh yes, and the voice cast. It's an all-star cast. We have the likes of Jackie Chan, Giancarlo Esposito, John Cena, Seth Rogen himself is in this movie, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne, etc. Everyone does a fantastic job. I particularly Ice Cube, I almost don't want to forget him because I particularly enjoyed Jackie Chan as Splinter, Ice Cube as the villain Superfly, and their names aren't off the top of my head because they're not like super A-listers yet, but the younger actors who voiced the Mutant Turtles themselves did a fantastic job, because this iteration of these characters actually felt like genuine teenagers, whereas in some of the cartoons that I can kind of like remember watching in passing growing up, they acted more like people in their late 20s as opposed to teens, but in this movie they do legitimately come off as teenagers, and that was really refreshing to see. What do I remember? I have seen the original Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I know that's like a nostalgia favorite for a lot of people. Again, like I said, I went into this impartial, and I don't have like a massive fondness for that movie. So it's with confidence that I say that this is by far my favorite Ninja Turtles movie that has come out. In this summer of Michael Bay film adaptation Damage Control, this easily decimates the Michael Bay produced versions from 2014 and 2016 respectively, the 2014 reboot that he produced and then the sequel that followed. I have watched those. Not a fan. So much better than that. Yeah, I really enjoyed Mutant Mayhem. It's not perfect, it's not without flaws. It's a very fast-paced movie. I think it clocks in at like hour and 30, and you really do feel the briefness of that runtime. It just goes. It moves at a very rapid pace, and that was noticeable at times, because there were times when it seemed like they wanted to slow things down a little and develop like the story and some characters a little bit more, but it's like, oh, we gotta go because we're still, like I said, this movie definitely identifies as a kids movie, and it kind of felt like the filmmakers were like, this is still a kids movie, so let's not get too deep, let's not slow things down too much because our target demographic is kids, and that's definitely noticeable. But nonetheless, I still thoroughly had a good time with this movie. So wrapping it up, I'm going to give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem a well-deserved 8 out of 10. Though, like I admit, it's not like the best animated movie of the year or anything like that. And though it's not as great as Across the Spider-Verse, which was just nothing short of a masterpiece, it's still thoroughly enjoyable. It accomplishes what it sets out to do, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Even some of the action sequences and fight sequences for an animated film were very well done. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Mutant Mayhem. And also I rarely point this out, but go see it in 3D. The colors and the animation really pop out more in that format. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Mutant Mayhem. This has been another edition of Wade Watches, and I will see you all later. Peace.